got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your hand. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That bell bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports for Sunday, July 12th. Not a good day on the show yesterday. Probably should have been better. I have to make sure this number is right. Like I said yesterday, I got to go back and look, man. I think this number is right on this latest run, which has not been good recently. We did get the win with the under in Cleveland and Miami again yesterday in baseball to start the day off on the right foot, but everything was bad after that. And Seattle obviously did not get there. Logan Gilbert, he was too hittable in the game, which not really what I expected. And Seattle could not capitalize on Griffin Jacks had a number of walks in that game. Seattle couldn't do anything about it, so that wasn't good. Argentina, they won, but it was not a win for us on the show because it was a first 90-minute play, and they had the lead 1-0. And they actually weren't playing that well at that point, but I thought they were going to do it, even though Switzerland tied the game. Switzerland got a red card, so they were down a man. I'm like, yeah, Argentina's going to win this in regulation here. What's the red card happen? Argentina was obviously, like, they had the advantage throughout the rest of that. And then, of course, I knew exactly what was going to happen, though. Once it got around the 90-minute mark, I'm like, oh, my God, they're actually not going to score here. It's going to go into extra time, and obviously with the man advantage, Argentina clearly is going to win in extra time. So my bracket pick is going to be right, but I have Argentina losing to England in my bracket, which, by the way, England is actually favored against them very slightly. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't like that I went from 5-1 in the World Cup to now 7-5. It's been a winning World Cup, and it should stay that way because there are only 3 more games, and I'm not going to have a plan every single one, if any of them. But still, yeah, that was Argentina. I think I would still say they were the right side, even though the game was kind of close throughout a lot of it until that red card happened. But even still, after that red card, I thought they should have just done it anyway. But the refs were just handing them the game, which was still like kind of part of the handicap as well. So I don't know. I got nothing else to say about it. We'll move on to today. I'm going to have 2 baseball plays again. Don't love the board that much. One of these plays is one of those ones that just seems way too obvious. But I think the market agrees with it, so I'm doing it anyway. Hopefully we can get both of these. And then I'm going to give out a WNBA play as well, where I was very close to having 2. And one of them, the market read is kind of scaring me on it. So I'm going to have 1. Even though we're getting a little bit worse of a number than we would have if I got it at the open. But 1 WNBA play today. All right, baseball. This is the last day for a while for baseball as we're going to head into the All-Star break. Nothing tomorrow. Then the All-Star game is Tuesday. The Home Run Derby. Actually, is the Home Run Derby tomorrow? I'm not even sure. I got to figure that out because a lot of times I talk about it on the show. World Cup is also off today until Tuesday. World Cup, I believe the semifinals are Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the final presumably is going to be like Friday, maybe Saturday. I don't know, however they do it, whatever. So coming down the stretch there, baseball will be off until, I believe, Thursday. There's going to be 1 baseball game. Maybe Wednesday there's 1. I don't know. Baseball resumes like at the end of the week. I think actually Friday is really when baseball completely resumes. All right. Anyway, Milwaukee and Pittsburgh is the early game here at 12:15 Eastern on Peacock. Pittsburgh, they're on the verge of a sweep here, man, because they swept the doubleheader yesterday. They won each game by 1 run, and they got Paul Skeens on the mound here, which is going to be a bit interesting. Can Pittsburgh pull off the sweep? Yeah, obviously they can with their best pitcher on the mound, although I know they haven't really been winning behind him, but they did break that curse last time. Pittsburgh's bullpen is going to be an issue, though. They used their entire bullpen, basically, yesterday. They used 7 guys because, of course, there was a doubleheader. Milwaukee used most of theirs. They used 6 guys out of their bullpen. Pittsburgh's at a bullpen disadvantage, though. They used more guys, and they're not a good bullpen. They are, I rank this by whip. They are 22nd. Milwaukee is 8th. So Milwaukee's got the bullpen advantage here. Pittsburgh does have a good offense. They're number 2. Milwaukee, number 10. Pittsburgh is one of the best home offenses as well. Robert Gasser, going for Milwaukee, he's kind of hard to predict, really. He's been all right. 4.15 ERA, 1.18 whip. That's not too bad. He's not quite as good on the road. 4.76 road ERA. And going up against a good offense here. He was good on the road in his last start against St. Louis, but Pittsburgh is a different animal and a less pitcher-friendly ballpark, too. Pittsburgh has some experience against them. They have 3 guys who have faced them. They're 2 for 6 against them with 1 walk and no strikeouts, so really not a whole lot going on there. No extra base hits either. Makes it hard to gauge. It's a small sample size. He's got some unfamiliarity, which might help him out a little bit. But he's obviously the lesser of these 2 pitchers against Paul Skeens, who is better than his 3.58 ERA would suggest. 1.04 whip is good. Skeens has been good at home, 3.02 home ERA. I mean, he's just good. We know that he's good. He bounced back after a couple of rough outings. Had a pretty good outing last time out against Atlanta, and maybe more importantly, finally got a win, and his team finally got a win behind him after, I think, Pittsburgh lost like 9 games in a row that he started or something like that. Might have been 8, whatever it was. It was crazy that they were losing all these games with him on the mound because it's not like Pittsburgh is a bad offense. Obviously, the opposite is true. Very weird, but maybe, that'll break the curse. They'll be back on track. Skeens does have good numbers against Milwaukee. 64 at-bats, 188 average, 570 OPS allowed, 20-5 strikeout-walk ratio. You're getting a cheap price with Pittsburgh here, although the price obviously goes up if you just want to focus on the starting pitching alone. Full game, Pittsburgh's minus 125 or so, but I think if you want to play Pittsburgh in the first 5, you're probably going to be paying like minus 150 for it because you're focusing on just their biggest advantage in the game, which is Skeens. The money is backing Milwaukee on the full game. 63% of tickets on Pittsburgh, 56% of the cash on Milwaukee. I mean, my read on this game was actually kind of a first 5 lean on Pittsburgh again because I do think that's a big edge. Skeens over Gasser in the first 5. Pittsburgh might lose the game late, but I do think that they will be ahead at the end of 5. So I was thinking that might be the way to lean here. Pittsburgh first 5, but you got to lay a half run with that if you do that because that's the way to get the price down. But that means they need to be winning after 5. It's maybe a little bit dangerous. Gasser, I mean, he could pitch well here. He's very unfamiliar to Pittsburgh, so a first 5 under, I guess, is possibly on the table in this game. Obviously, I wouldn't do it full game because the bullpens are just trashed, and the money is playing the over, the full game total of 8 there. It's a game I'm not doing anything with, though. That's a pass. Kansas City and Baltimore. Baltimore is also on the verge of a sweep, so I do talk about this just like with Milwaukee, although Milwaukee's a better team than Kansas City, obviously, but teams that are trying to avoid the sweep usually get more motivated. I mean, you really don't want to go into the All-Star break on a bad note, although I think if you do that coming out of the All-Star break, it'll actually be better because that break can help, end that losing momentum. Although I think if you finally win one game going into the break, it's not really a bad thing either. But yeah, just generally, I think these teams are going to try a little bit harder to win if they're on the verge of getting swept. I don't know if we really want to try to back Kansas City here, though. I mean, if you do, you can't really involve their bullpen, even though they only used 1 guy out of the bullpen yesterday. They are not a good bullpen. Baltimore used 3. Kansas City, they're at a bullpen disadvantage against basically everybody. They're the worst-ranked bullpen in baseball. Baltimore is 13th. They're not great, but they're obviously better than Kansas City. Both offenses are kind of in the mid-range. Baltimore 16th, Kansas City 19th, arranged by OPS. Seth Lugo is pitching for Kansas City. He's been pretty mediocre, man. 4.56 ERA, 1.43 whip is definitely not good. He's not as good on the road, 5.48 road ERA. Hasn't really been good in some of these recent outings, although he's kind of been alternating good and bad for the last few outings. He was bad in his last outing, which was on the road against the Mets. Probably not a good sign because obviously the Mets are not a good offense. So I don't really think he's in very good form right now, although his strikeout walk ratio has been all right over those last couple of games. His numbers against Baltimore are actually really good. In 59 at-bats, 102 average allowed, 388 OPS, 17-6 strikeout walk ratio. Those numbers are good enough that I kind of lean more towards Lugo actually pitching well here. He's going to be going up against Shane Baz for Baltimore. He's pretty mediocre as well, although probably better than Lugo. I mean, he's younger, has more upside at least. 4.21 ERA, 1.37 whip is not really that good. He's a little bit better at home, 4.14 home ERA, though his opponent batting average at home is a lot worse. So I don't even know if we should really even say that he's better at home. Just his ERA is slightly better. His walk rate's been bad over his last two starts, 7 walks in 13 innings. Can't do that, man. You got to cut that down, even though he only allowed 5 runs. I think he got a little bit lucky there. Had 9 strikeouts, which wasn't really that good. He's got a mediocre hit rate here, a pretty bad walk rate. His walk rate is high. Strikeout rate is not too high either. Overall, yeah, not great from Baz, but his numbers against Kansas City are actually pretty good. In 40 at-bats, 200 batting average, 638 OPS, 6-2 strikeout walk ratio. And Kansas City also does not hit well on the road typically. So this game, to me, I think this might be a first 5 under. The total in the full game is 9.5, and you kind of have to do it that way because neither starting pitcher is really that good. The bullpens are not very good. So it kind of makes sense the total has to be that high, and it's an offensive ballpark for the most part. But the money is back in the under. 63% of tickets, 87% of the cash. And I agree with that as well. I think that is the way that I would look at this game. But again, I would go first 5 under the total. Probably you're looking at about a 5.5 probably on that, which is a reasonable number. More than reasonable. 80% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on Baltimore. So Baltimore's public with a little bit more of the money on them, but I don't know. They're too public for my taste based on what that discrepancy is between those two numbers. Minus 148 or so is the price on Baltimore there. I mean, they basically have to be a favorite like that because Kansas City, you just can't have them as a favorite at all. They need to be an underdog in most cases. So, and as far as the overall numbers here for Lugo, Lugo's got a pretty high hit rate, which is not good. His walk rate's fine. His strikeout rate is pretty low, though, so he doesn't really blow guys away. Baz is the better strikeout pitcher. And as far as the other guys that I talked about in that other matchup, Gasser, just so you know, I mean, he's got a low hit rate, reasonable walk rate, and his strikeout rate is okay as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's a mediocre pitcher. Skeens, I don't even really think we have to go into him. I mean, we know that all of his numbers are good. Low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate, all of that is still there. Yankees at Washington. Yankees are on the verge of a sweep. Washington, they've been competitive in the series. Washington had the lead in the 9th inning in the first game. I don't know exactly how the game played out yesterday, but they lost both games by 2 runs. Washington, they're not a good team at home, though. They lose a lot of home games, and their bullpen's not good. They used 5 guys out of the bullpen yesterday as well. Yankees only used 3. The Yankees have a big bullpen edge here. They're ranked 3rd in bullpen, but they have the best bullpen ERA right now. Washington, 26th, really bad. One of the worst bullpens. Yankees are 6th in offense, tied with the Marlins right now, and Washington number 3. So both offenses obviously capable here. Yankees are going with Will Warren, so they're going with a pitcher who's at least vulnerable if you're going to be looking towards Washington here to try to avoid the sweep. Warren, 4.15 ERA, but his whip is 1.37, which is not too good. He's a bit worse on the road, 4.5 road ERA. He's been pretty mediocre recently. Not great stuff here. 2 of his last 3 starts haven't been very good, and those were his road starts against Boston and Tampa Bay, and Washington is a better offense than both of those teams. He's got a high hit rate on the season. His walk rate is okay. Strikeout rate is fairly high. So he's not all bad, but, pretty mediocre stuff here. But he does have an unfamiliarity edge, so Washington might struggle against him just because they haven't really seen him. Only Curtis Mead has ever faced him. He's 0 for 5 with a strikeout. So do with that info what you want to do. Cade Cavalli is going to be coming back from suspension after his brawl with the Red Sox. He got suspended. He appealed it. He got it knocked down to 5 games, which the suspensions on starting pitchers are just stupid, man, because, if you're suspended for 5 games, what does that even mean as a starting pitcher? You get 1 start and move back 1 day or something? Oh, big deal. Cavalli, he's young still. He's got some talent here. 3.88 ERA. His whip is not that good, though, 1.38. He's a little bit worse at home, 4.01 home ERA. But I still think he's one of the better Washington pitchers. He's been pretty good recently. His month of June was actually quite good, across the board. Wasn't really good last time out against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a good offense, although obviously so is the Yankees. Yankees not quite as good on the road, though. Cavalli, his main problem is hitability. He's actually been too hittable. His hit rate's too high. His walk rate is okay. His strikeout rate is pretty high, so he does have the ability to fool major league hitters, which is a good sign that his strikeout rate is high. His numbers against the Yankees, I'm pretty sure they're minimal. Let me see. Yankees have 15 at-bats against him. The Yankees have absolutely hammered him, though. 467 average against him, 1663 OPS, 3 home runs against him from 3 different batters. Yeah, so that is not good. The Yankees have drilled him when they've seen him, but Cavalli is better now than he has been in the past, and I don't think the Yankees have faced him this year, so Cavalli, maybe you can put less weight into those numbers a little bit there. They still worry me quite a bit, though. The money, I believe, is actually back in Washington here. Yankees have 65% of tickets on them, 86% of the money on Washington. So pros versus Joe split there. In a way, it looks too easy to play the Yankees. You're basically getting a pick-em price on this, and the public's going to come in and play the Yankees because they're the Yankees. Money back in Washington. I still can't do it with Cavalli's matchup numbers. They're just so bad that there might be something to that. It's a stay away from me. The over might be a way to look at this game. The total's at 9, 63% of tickets, 95% of the cash on the over. You're looking at 2 pitchers that might be vulnerable here. One of the bullpens is really bad. Washington's obviously. So I think there are more indicators towards an over in that game. That might be I don't want to say safer, but maybe the play that has a better chance of getting there than anything else in that game. The side is kind of hard to figure out in that one, although Washington has the motivation to try to avoid the sweep, and you could make the argument maybe the Cavalli's the better pitcher. Although I think if you play Washington in that game at all, I think you have to limit it to the first 5. I just don't think you can back that bullpen at all. The Red Sox, they're on the verge of a sweep of the Mets. Red Sox went with kind of a bullpen game yesterday, though. They had Eduardo, whatever the hell his name was, on the mound yesterday, but he went 3 2/3 innings or something. He hadn't allowed a hit into the 4th inning, and then he allowed a hit, and they took him out. Red Sox bullpen was good, as usual. They've been a good bullpen. They didn't use too many guys. They used 3 guys yesterday. The Mets use 4. The Red Sox do have a bullpen advantage here. They're number 4. They have the 3rd best bullpen ERA. Mets have fallen off a bit. They're number 9, but their ERA is above 4 now, which is not great. So they're trending more towards being a mediocre bullpen here. Both teams have not been good offensively. The Red Sox are 22nd, tied with the Reds. The Mets are 28th. So the Red Sox have a little bit of an edge there, too. And they've been a little bit better on the road. The Red Sox have the more established starting pitcher on the mound as well with Peyton Tolley. 3.14 ERA, 1.07 whip, pretty good. He's been a little bit better on the road as well, 2.87 road ERA. His numbers are good, man. He's coming off a good start over the White Sox. It was a nice bounce back after he wasn't good against Washington. But He's been really good in almost all of his starts this year. Really low hit rate. His walk rate is pretty low. Strikeout rate is right around 1 per inning, which is pretty good. Against the Mets, they only have one guy who's faced him. Zach Short is 0 for 2 off him with a strikeout. So Tolley has the unfamiliarity edge here as well. He should pitch well here. Zach Thornton is going for the Mets. This guy is a real mystery, man. He's a really young lefty. Nobody has really seen this guy before. He's a tall, lanky lefty, so that probably does indicate that he doesn't throw particularly hard, which I think I looked at his stat cast, and I believe that's true. I think he throws in like the low to mid 90s, but he has 6 different pitches that he throws, so he mixes up his pitches to try to keep batters off balance. I think he mostly throws like a fastball mix, though, like between a 4-seamer, a cutter, a sinker. He does stuff like that. His numbers are okay so far, but he's only made 2 starts, a 4.35 ERA, 1.16 whip. It's hard to gauge. He was better in his home start, 1.5 home ERA. Like I said, he's made 2 starts. One was on the road against Washington. He wasn't great in that one, but Washington's a difficult offense to face. He then was at home against Philly. Philly, I mean, they're not a great offense on the road, and he really pitched well in that start. And he was efficient, too, so he's trending in the right direction. Obviously, the Red Sox have never faced him before, so I think he could possibly pitch well here as well. It's a little bit questionable, I think. The money is actually backing the Mets here, though, so the money is backing Thornton here. I think the under might be the way to look at this game. Let me see here. The money is kind of agreeing with that. 60% of tickets on the over, 56% of the cash on the over. Total at 8.5. You could go full game on that, or you could go first 5. I mean, the Mets bullpen, not necessarily one that you need to avoid. So I think maybe a full game under makes the most sense to me here. The Red Sox are a road favorite here at minus 120, which is kind of interesting because the Mets, I think, have been favored in the other games in the series. The money is backing the Mets probably for that reason. Red Sox are public, 91% of the tickets on them, 84% of the cash. So Red Sox, the market read doesn't look good for them. They're public with less of the money on them, which the argument is really just, I think, that the price tag is kind of too high on the Red Sox. So Tolley is the more established pitcher, though, and the Red Sox have the better bullpen. So I wouldn't really want to risk it with the Mets, but I would be willing to say that the under is the best way to play that game. I think both offenses might not do a ton in that one, so that would be the way I would look in that one. Dirty Sock, what's up? Yes, thanks for hanging out. I repeat myself on the show all the time. And, my sinuses are a mess again. Going to be a much-needed break during the All-Star break. Baseball is it's the most difficult sport to talk about on the show. There's just way too much involved in talking about it. Cubs and Reds. This is a split series right now, so both teams are going to show up here. The Cubs won the game yesterday. The Cubs use 5 relief pitchers, but the Reds have the worst bullpen. They also use 5 relief pitchers. There's a bullpen advantage for the Cubs. Their bullpen has not been good recently, though. They've dropped all the way to 14th. Their ERA is above 4. That's not great. The Reds, still worse, at 27th. Maybe 2 bullpens that you want to avoid here. The Cubs have hit pretty well. They're 5th. Reds are tied with the Red Sox, 22nd. Not great. Cubs are going with Matthew Boyd here. I think Boyd is the more talented of these 2 pitchers. He's been okay, but small sample size this year. He's been dealing with injuries. 4.31 ERA, 1.31 whip. That's not horrible. He's been pretty good on the road, a 3.07 road ERA. On the show, I gave out a play backing him in his last start against Baltimore, and he pitched really well in that one on the road. We got the win in that one. Boyd, I mean, he seems to be moving in the right direction. He's been pretty good since coming back from injury. Good sign that he was able to do that against Baltimore because his other 2 starts are against the Mets and San Diego, so we didn't really know what he was going to do against a better offense like Baltimore, but he did pretty well there. Going up against the Reds, his numbers are decent against them at 42 at-bats, 262 average, 674 OPS, 11-5 strikeout walk ratio. That ratio is not very good, but the rest of those numbers are pretty good, so I think he can pitch all right here. Andrew Abbott is pitching for Cincinnati. Oh, and I guess before I forget, Matthew Boyd, just looking at his overall numbers here, it's a small sample, but he's been a little bit too hittable. His walk rate is okay, and his strikeout rate is actually high, so that's a good sign for Boyd that he does still have his strikeout ability. So that kind of tells you that the injury hasn't really, totally destroyed his stuff. Andrew Abbott has been walking too many guys, man. He's pitching for the Reds. 3.92 ERA is not too bad. He's been pretty good throughout his career, but he's walking way too many guys this year. 1.41 whip, that is not good. He is worse at home, too. 4.72 home ERA. It is a hitter-friendly ballpark. He pitched really well last time out against Philadelphia in this ballpark. He's been struggling with the walks, though, generally. That start he didn't, but a lot of his recent starts, he's got a lot of walks here. He's got a reasonably low hit rate here. His strikeout rate's not high, but he's not really a strikeout pitcher, but his walk rate clearly is the main problem with him. He's got to do something about that. Numbers against the Cubs, though, he has been good on 106 at-bats, 189 average allowed, 601 OPS, but again, too many walks here. 19 strikeouts, 15 walks. That is a horrible ratio. Not really a high strikeout rate, but that walk rate is too high. So what do we do with this game? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how much I want to trust either of these pitchers here. Looking at the starting pitching matchup, it felt like the Cubs had the advantage there, but the money's backing the Reds. 70% of tickets on Boyd, or on the Cubs, I should say. 94% of the cash on Cincinnati. So the money's backing the Reds. The Cubs are a road favorite at minus 130. I think it might just be because the professionals they love to hammer the home underdogs, dude. You know what I mean? I want more than just that. So I don't know, man. I think the Cubs are the better team. I think they have the better starter and the better bullpen here, so I would kind of lean that way. But both pitchers do have good matchup numbers, so a first 5 under isn't really out of the question here, although odds makers have put a high total on this at 9.5, and that kind of concerns me about playing these early unders. But the money is back in the under, it looks like. 60% of tickets, 77% of the cash on the under. I can see the argument for it. I don't really want to do it. I don't want to trust these pitchers enough to do that, but based on the matchup numbers and the way the market is looking, there is an argument for a first 5 under in that one, but I would probably avoid both bullpens there in that case. You definitely want to avoid the Reds bullpen with whatever you do. Cleveland and Miami, I will not be giving out an under in this one. We've got the under right in both games in the series so far. Miami is trying to avoid a sweep here. So Miami, after they were hot and they had a long win streak, they lost the first game of the series. They got a little bit derailed, I think. And I talked about how when you lose a win streak, sometimes it hangs you over into the next game, and that may have happened there. Miami's offense has fallen off a cliff here. Like I talked about, I thought Miami's offense was overperforming because they had really, really hitter-friendly venues during their road trip. Now they're back at home, facing some decent pitching here in a pitcher-friendly park, and they have not been able to hit in this series. They might be able to get a little bit more offense going in this one. Maybe not, though. Miami used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Cleveland used 3. These are both decent bullpens here. Miami is ranked higher. Miami's still ranked number 2 in bullpen, although I don't think they're that good. Their ERA is not really that good. I think they're like a top 10 bullpen, I would say. Cleveland is ranked 17th, but they're not that much worse than Miami's. I think it's somewhat close there. Miami is the slightly better bullpen, in my opinion. Miami is number 6 in offense, but again, I think that's overrating their offense quite a bit. Cleveland is 29th. They are legitimately pretty bad offensively with all these injuries they have going on. This is not a very good pitching matchup this time in this one. Joey Cantillo is pitching for Cleveland. He's got some decent stuff. Again, his problem is the walks. That's the case with a lot of guys. 3.66 ERA, 1.39 whip is not good, though. He's been a little bit worse on the road, 3.86 road ERA. He looks like he's pitching okay recently, but his walk rate in his last 2 starts was really elevated. So he was pitching pretty well for a while there in June, and then those last 2 starts worry me, man. It looks like his command is way off again with those walk numbers there. 8 walks over the last 10 innings. That's not good. He does have a pretty low hit rate on the season. His walk rate is way too high. Like I said, his strikeout rate is right at 1 per inning, which is fine. Miami's never seen him before, so he might be able to pitch well here because he has the unfamiliarity edge that I always talk about. Usually that goes to the pitcher. If the pitcher is capable, the hitters kind of struggle to figure him out if they haven't seen him before. So he does have that advantage. Miami is going with Tyler Phillips, which is kind of a pseudo bullpen game, but they've basically been kind of unleashing him and letting him go like almost a starter's workload. He's been all right, but his whip indicates that his ERA is not really what he is. 3.28 ERA. 1.36 whip is a bit too high, though. He's been really good at home. 1.03 home ERA. So he might pitch well here. His overall numbers, I mean, he looks like he's been pitching pretty well because he hasn't allowed that many runs. Some of that was his bullpen appearances early in the season, though. He does still have a low hit rate, but his walk rate is bad. His walk rate is too high. His strikeout rate is really low, so he's not a guy that comes in and fools batters. Like Cantillo is the starting pitcher that has the higher ceiling here. Like he's actually the better pitcher here over Phillips. Phillips, yeah, doesn't really fool guys, walks too many guys. Both pitchers walk too many guys. Phillips, though, does have a little bit of experience against Cleveland. They have 15 at-bats against him. They only have a 200 average and 494 OPS and no extra base hits against him. 4-2 strikeout walk ratio, so he might pitch okay here. I mean, looking at all that, I mean, this could be another under. I mean, this is not making the cut for me, obviously, but I mean, maybe that is the way to look at this game. And I was going to say maybe you look at Miami because they're one of those teams trying to avoid a sweep. They're a home team trying to avoid a sweep, so a couple of teams in that situation, Washington, the Mets, Miami. Those teams tend to step up their game, and they usually show up to try to avoid the sweep. I won't be on any of it, but the money is backing Miami a little bit here. 53% of tickets, 58% of the cash on them at right around a pick-em price there. I don't really want to do it. I mean, I think Cantillo is probably the better pitcher there. Miami's in the better spot to avoid the sweep, though. And they do have some advantages. I mean, they probably have the better bullpen still, and they have the better offense. Total's low at 7.5, so the odds makers are kind of telling you they think it's going to be a low-scoring game again, but the money is coming in on the over pretty strongly in that one, although I still think there are more indicators towards an under than an over in that game. So I would lean slightly under there, but I can't do it. Not in that one, man. We'll leave it alone, but we did well with that series with 2 wins on the under, so I'm satisfied with that. My read on that series has been pretty good. Next game up is a play for me. Like I said, this seems way too obvious, but I just don't see another way that this is going to go. We're going to take the under in Philadelphia, Detroit here. I think everything lines up pretty well here, except I know I'm recommending going full game here, which means you're back in the bullpens. And Philly's bullpen has not been good recently, but the bullpens are pretty rested here, and they're not so bad that I'm like, we got to avoid them here. Like, I think Philadelphia is going to get a little bit better again out of the bullpen at some point here. Philadelphia, they're really rested here. They used 2 guys yesterday. Granted, one of them was their closer, Duran, but he only threw 8 pitches, so theoretically he could pitch again here if they really wanted him to. Detroit, their bullpen's in pretty good shape here. They used 3 guys out of the bullpen yesterday, but they did use their closer, Jansen. So, I don't know. Should I be rethinking this? I don't know, because I don't really want to go under in the first 5 at a 3.5 either, though. Like, usually I want to look for like a 4. And at least you're getting a key number 7 here. And the good thing about this is you have 2 elite pitchers pitching that could definitely maintain their stuff through, longer than 5 innings, you know what I mean? So that's also what I'm banking on here, is that these starting pitchers are going to get you at least like 6 solid innings here, I would hope. Looking at the bullpens, Detroit's bullpen has been all right. They're 15th. They're not bad. Philadelphia, I get that they're not great at 21st. Their ERA's basically in the mid-4s, but they're not so bad that I'm like, we have to just completely discount them. These offenses have not been very good. Philadelphia 24th, and we know that they struggle on the road. So I'm willing to fade their offense here. Detroit, they're a mediocre offense at 17th, and they're better at home. I will admit that, obviously, but I don't see them doing a ton here against Zach Wheeler. Wheeler might even be a little bit extra motivated here, because if you saw what happened with the All-Star stuff, a lot of guys are like dropping out of the All-Star game. The All-Star game is just a total sham, dude. Like, it's just based on voting preferences. The whole thing is bullshit. It's totally stupid. And then certain guys get named to the All-Star team, and they will either be injured or not play in the All-Star game, and then other guys have to be selected. And that's what happened with Wheeler. Is he was selected as an alternate because I forget who it was, one of the pitchers dropped out in the National League, and then Wheeler was given an invitation, and because he wasn't initially given an invitation, Wheeler rejected it. He turned it down. Like, he said that it was what's the word that I'm looking for? I forget what he said. He said that it was disrespectful. I think that he wasn't initially named to the All-Star game. And in my opinion, the reason that he wasn't is because he was hurt at the start of the year, so he just doesn't have as many innings as some of these other guys do. Although, granted, he's pitched for a while now, so I think he might be extra motivated here to prove something, you know what I mean? Because he was disrespected by the All-Star committee with the fact that they're like, hey, now that somebody dropped out, now we'll name you to the All-Star game. And he said, nope, I'm not doing it. He's been an All-Star in the past, obviously. He's been around for a while. Wheeler has been really good on the road, 1.93 road ERA. His overall numbers are really good, obviously. 2.28 ERA, 0.91 whip. Philadelphia's won 5 games in a row that he started. He's been on fire in his last 2 starts with 24 strikeouts and 1 walk in 11 2/3 innings. Yeah, that's pretty good. Although he allowed 13 hits, he was actually way too hittable against Pittsburgh. I don't know exactly what went on in that game, even though he struck out a ton of guys in that one. But he was back to normal in his last start. He destroyed Cincinnati in his last start. And Detroit is obviously not as good as Pittsburgh offensively. So I expect Wheeler is going to do well here. He's got good numbers against Detroit, 31 at-bats. They do have 2 home runs off him, but they have 15 strikeouts and 1 walk. So half of their at-bats have resulted in strikeouts. 161 batting average, 542 OPS. Those are good numbers really across the board. That is a really high strikeout rate as well. I think Wheeler does well here, man, and obviously his overall numbers are really good. He just picked up basically where he left off. He's got a low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate, all the things that you look for. And we're also going to back Tarek Skubal on the other side here, who's pitching well as well. People are, oh, Skubal, he's not as good anymore now that he's coming back from injury. Yeah, okay. Whatever, man. He's got a 3.06 ERA. His whip is 0.95. If your whip is below 1, yeah, you're basically in the elite category, okay? He's been not as good at home, I'll admit that, 3.99 ERA, but whatever, man. I mean, he's still an ace pitcher. He's had fewer home innings this year. His opponent batting average at home is still really low, so I don't really put much stock into this. He hasn't allowed more than 4 earned runs in any of his starts this season. He's had 9 strikeouts apiece in each of his last 3 outings, which were 2 games against the Yankees and 1 against the A's. So, yeah, he's throwing, against some really good offenses there. Philadelphia's offense is not as good as any of those offenses. So, yeah, he should have a little bit of an easier time in this one, even though he wasn't even bad in any of those starts. He's got a low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate. Yeah, his stuff is obviously still here. If he's striking out guys at the rate that he is over the last few games. Again, I think these injuries are always overstated, man. You know what I mean? And people, Detroit's going to trade Skubal. No, I don't think they are, because they can still win the division right now. They got Skubal back. They got Mize back. Their starting rotation isn't really that bad right now. And Skubal has good numbers against Philly. You probably guessed that. 35 at-bats. They only have 2 extra base hits, which are not home runs. They're both doubles. 11 strikeouts, 1 walk. Again, a high strikeout rate. Good command numbers. 171 average, 423 OPS. Yeah, I have to do it, man. Again, it looks too obvious. So the money's backing the under with me here. We're right on that key number 7. 59% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on the under. This game immediately looked like an under to me, and all the numbers look like they back it up to me. These are 2 elite pitchers, and they got good matchup numbers here. These offenses are not that potent either, so let's just do it. Hopefully Phillies, hopefully the bullpens can maintain this thing in the later innings. But yeah, let's do it. Under 7 in that one is the play. I'm going to be pissed if the first 5 wins, and this doesn't, by the way. But again, I'm banking on these pitchers going more than 5 innings into this game. I think it's highly likely they both will. The money's backing Philly for whatever that's worth. 54% of tickets, 69% of the cash on Philly. They're an underdog, and, Wheeler is an underdog. Maybe he feels disrespected about that, too. I understand why Skubal has to be favored at about minus 120. Detroit's good at home, but you're almost never going to get Wheeler as an underdog like that, and this is such a close matchup. Maybe it makes sense to lean Philly a little bit on the side here. I wouldn't want their bullpen, though. Detroit's bullpen is better, so I think if you're going to play Philly, I think you should limit it to the first 5 and just hope that it's a really low-scoring pitching duel. But, of course, I'm playing on it being a low-scoring game anyway by playing the under, and I believe that is the way to play this. Both teams, by the way, have won 1 game in that series. So talking about the side, both teams are probably going to show up to try to win that series today. So that's that play. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Next game is, where was I at? Seattle and Tampa Bay. I don't even want to talk about this series. Tampa Bay is on the verge of a sweep, so Seattle may show up to try to avoid the sweep here. On the surface, it does look like Seattle does have a starting pitching edge here, but I don't know. When you dig into it a little bit, I think it's close, man. Seattle used 2 relief pitchers. I do think their bullpen is better. Tampa Bay used 3 yesterday. Seattle, their bullpen isn't ranked that high at 16th, but they still have a good bullpen ERA. I still think they're like a top several bullpen. Tampa Bay is ranked 7th, but their ERA is the worst of the 2. I don't think they're quite that good. I think they're more of a mid-tier bullpen, so I would swap them in the rankings, basically. Even though I know maybe I'm putting too much weight onto the ERAs, but Tampa Bay's 9th in offense. I'll give them that they have the better offense here. Seattle's ranked 27th, but I don't think the gap between those offenses is really that big. Tampa Bay has been really good at home, though, so that's something to keep in mind. I tried to fade that yesterday. It did not work out well. Tampa Bay's been really good at home. Emerson Hancock is pitching for Seattle. He's been good. Seattle, they had one of their best pitchers on the mound yesterday, though, with Gilbert, and he wasn't good enough. Hancock, 3.23 ERA, 1.01 whip. He's been a little bit worse on the road, 3.57 road ERA. Still pretty good. Obviously, Seattle's ballpark is very pitcher-friendly. Hancock's been, pretty good, man. He's coming off a 7-inning shutout of Toronto. That's pretty good, obviously. Facing Tampa here will be a bit more difficult than Toronto, though. He's got a low hit rate on the season, low walk rate. His strikeout rate's pretty decent. His numbers across the board look pretty good here. Against Tampa Bay, not so much. They only have 8 at-bats against him, but they're 6 for 8 off him. So with no strikeouts, no walks, they have a 750 average and 1625 OPS against him. So it's a small sample. They only have 5 hitters who have faced him. But they've done well against him, although it's such a small sample. I don't know really how much weight you should put into that. Because Hancock is better now than he has been in the past, and I don't think Tampa's faced him this year, so Hancock may very well pitch better here. Ian Seymour is pitching for Tampa Bay. He's like a converted reliever, but he's been pitching pretty well. He's got a 4.11 ERA, 1.08 whip. Tampa continues to get a lot out of these starting pitchers that nobody even knows who the hell they are. He's been good at home, 3.05 home ERA. He's been really hard to get to at home. He had 12 strikeouts last time out against the Yankees. He's got a 20-1 strikeout walk ratio this month in 11 1/3 innings. That is a really high strikeout rate. And the start before that was a shutout for 6 2/3. Actually, it was a no-hitter for 6 2/3 against Kansas City. Yeah, that's some pretty good stuff right there. He's pitching well, man. He's got a low hit rate. His walk rate is a little high. Strikeout rate is high, so he is fooling batters, striking them out at a big rate here. I don't really want to fade him here, man. Seattle only has 4 at-bats against him. They have 6 hitters who have faced him. They have 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 1 extra base hit, a double from Naylor, 250 average, 1,000 OPS, obviously. You can do that math. It's a difficult read in this game, man. Tampa Bay looks like you could argue they do actually have a starting pitching advantage here. I think Seattle has the motivational and the bullpen advantage, and the money is backing Seattle here. 74% of tickets on Tampa Bay. They're at minus 140 or so. So, again, I think it's a situation where the professional money is just like, yeah, this is a close enough matchup that I don't think Tampa should be favored this heavily. 57% of the cash on Seattle. The money is strongly backing the over 7.5 here. I don't know if I see that, man. I think there are more indicators for an under than an over in this one. I don't really love it. I don't love the game. It's a difficult game for me to figure out, man. Maybe a first 5 under with these starting pitchers. They might both do well here. Bullpens maybe a little bit more questionable. Although I think you could go full game and get under the 7.5. I wouldn't really disagree with the under in that one. The side for me is actually more difficult to really get a grasp on, but that is a game that I don't want to touch, obviously. Anaheim and Minnesota, I thought I might be coming in with an over in this series somewhere. Luckily, I have not done that because I think both games have gone under, and this game looks like it might not go over either, so I'm not going to be doing that at least. I don't have a play on this game at all, but these are both bad bullpens, though. Minnesota used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Anaheim, or 4, actually. Anaheim used 2. Minnesota is one of the worst bullpens in baseball. They're ranked second worst right now at 29th. Anaheim is not much better at 24th. So, yeah, these are bullpens you want to fade or avoid. Minnesota's been good offensively. They're 8th right now, and they do hit pretty well at home. Anaheim is 21st, although they actually hit better on the road, which is another reason why I was thinking this series might have some overs in it, but I don't want to do that with this starting pitching matchup. Jose Soriano is pitching for Anaheim. He's a decent pitcher, and the one thing we know about him is he's better on the road. 3.4 ERA overall, 1.28 whip. That's not too bad. 2.91 road ERA. Again, he's good on the road. He bounced back. His last couple of starts are both pretty good, and they were both on the road, but they're in pitcher-friendly ballparks, though, in Seattle and Texas. So Minnesota is not going to be pitcher-friendly like that. But he is still good on the road. He's got a low hit rate, high strikeout rate. His problem is the walks. His walk number is way too high. Like, he's walking one guy every 2 innings. Yeah, you can't do that. But his other numbers are good, and he's good against the Twins as well. They only have 6 hitters who have faced him, though. 14 at-bats, 214 average, 695 OPS, which is being skewed a little bit by the 1 extra base hit, which is a home run from Josh Bell. 4 strikeouts, 1 walk here. I think Soriano, I would lean towards him pitching well here, even though this is going to be more difficult than his last 2 starts. Taj Bradley is pitching from Minnesota. I can't figure him out, man. He was good at the beginning of the season. I've always thought that he had talent, but it never really came to fruition with Tampa Bay. He's mostly been good this year, but I tried to play on him when he was like in his bad stretch, and now it looks like he's good again. And I'm like not giving out plays on him now. In fact, I tried to fade him in his last game because Minnesota was returning home from a road trip, and he had bad matchup numbers, and that didn't work out. He's got pretty good numbers here. 3.67 ERA, 1.22 whip. He's good at home, 3.22 home ERA. Really good in his last 2 outings, man. 21 strikeouts and 3 walks in 12 innings. Yeah, that's pretty good. I know his last start was at home against Cleveland. I mean, they can't hit. But he did it on the road against Houston the game before that and pitched pretty well there. So he's pitching well. He's got a high strikeout rate, which is one thing I've always noticed about him and thought that he was good for that reason. Like, if you can strike guys out in the majors at that rate, then you have something going for you. You know what I mean? It means you have good stuff. His hit rate is pretty low. His walk rate actually isn't even really that high. So his numbers across the board are pretty good. His walk rate is still the worst attribute here. It's a little bit high. Against Anaheim, he's not been that good, though. In 23 at-bats, 261 average, 885 OPS allowed, 4-2 strikeout walk ratio. So I don't really want to back him here. Looking at what's been happening in this series, each team has won 1 game in the series. So this is a rubber match of the series, which usually means both teams will show up with motivation. You know, I think this might be an under in the first 5 here. It's another hot, like I've said this, I think this is the 3rd time I've said this on the show where you have a total of 9 or 9.5, yet I like the first 5 under. And usually I don't do that with these higher totals because the odds makers are kind of telling you they think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But this is one of those games. I think the starting pitching is just way different from the bullpens. The bullpens suck, but I think a first 5 under makes some sense here. And the money is back in the under. 63% of tickets, 74% of the cash on the under. Obviously, like I said, avoid the bullpens. First 5 under. Both starting pitchers might pitch well here. The money's backing Minnesota. I don't think I agree with that. 82% of tickets, 92% of the cash on them at about minus 130. I don't really want to fade Bradley in the, just given his current form being pretty good. I know Soriano's last 2 starts are against offenses that aren't as good as Minnesota's, but Soriano's got the better matchup numbers, so I think I would slightly lean Anaheim first 5 here. But I think first 5 under might be the way to look at that game more than anything else. That's basically what I got on that. Next game, I'm going to have an opinion on this where I might have... this one almost made the cut for me, the A's and the White Sox. It's a little bit questionable, but I do have a stronger opinion on that game than most of these games today. Michael, what's up, man? Magic Johnson, I don't know. Is he lying about that or is he not lying? I don't know. He's still alive and been doing pretty well, so I don't know, man. A's and White Sox. White Sox are on the verge of a sweep. They won the first game in a blowout, but yesterday was a low-scoring game, and they only won 1-0. So I think Gage Jump pitched in that one, so it looks like Jump did better again. But the White Sox got good pitching in that one, too. This game, to me, though, I think the A's have the starting pitching edge here. They do not have a bullpen advantage, though. The A's should have a motivational edge because they're trying to avoid the sweep. So I'm going to mention that again. Trying to avoid the sweep is a motivator. The A's did use 2 relief pitchers yesterday, but their bullpen's just not good. White Sox used 4, but they still have a bullpen advantage over the A's, who are ranked 25th, and they have the second worst bullpen ERA. They're not good, dude. The White Sox, their bullpen ERA is below 4. That's not bad at all. They're ranked 19th, so yeah, White Sox have the better bullpen. Both offenses are pretty capable. The A's are 14th. The White Sox are 11th. White Sox exploded 2 games ago in the first game with Murakami back, but couldn't do much of anything yesterday. And I think they might not do a ton against JT Ginn here for the A's. Ginn, he might be their best pitcher, man. I mean, maybe you could argue that Jump is just because of his upside, but Ginn has had a good season here. And, you have to factor in that he's pitching in the A's stadium half the time, too. He's got a 3.1 ERA and 1.22 whip. That's pretty good. He's better on the road, as you would expect, a 2.49 road ERA. So he's quite good away from the A's stadium, which makes sense. One issue here is his walk rate has been too high over his last couple starts. He pitched well against the Dodgers, but he did walk so many guys that maybe he got a little bit lucky there. Still a good sign that he went 6 innings and only allowed 1 run against the Dodgers, though. That was at home as well. Wasn't as good on the road last time out against Detroit. His numbers overall, he does have a low hit rate here. His walk rate is too high, though, so as I was alluding to, that's his one problem is he walks too many guys. Strikeout rate is okay. I mean, he's not really a strikeout pitcher. But I think he might do well here because he's on the road in the better of his splits. The White Sox haven't really seen him. They only have 2 hitters who have seen him. 3 at-bats, only 1 hit, a single from Benintendi, the usual suspect there, because he's been around forever. Former Red Sox player, Andrew Benintendi. 1 strikeout here as well, also Benintendi. Really not a whole lot to see here, but Ginn is unfamiliar to the White Sox, so he might be able to pitch a little bit better for that reason. White Sox are going with Noah Schultz. Schultz is really young, man, and I think he does have a decent amount of upside, but he's been struggling. He's got a 6 ERA, 1.42 whip. He's been struggling with the wildness, man. Like, he looks like he has decent stuff. Doesn't strike out a ton of guys, but his walk rate is way too high. He's been a little bit better at home, 5.49 home ERA. And actually, his opponent batting average is actually pretty low, so he's difficult to hit. Again, his issue is he's walking a ton of guys. 7 walks over his last 9 1/3 innings. That's not good. Over the course of the season, pretty low hit rate, like I was alluding to, but a really high walk rate. Not good. And his strikeout rate is decent. So again, if he was able to get his walk number down, I think he's going to have something. Like, I think he's pretty good. Other than that, the A's have faced him a little bit. They have 6 at-bats against him. 0 for 6, though, with 2 strikeouts, and that came this year. Kind of surprised they only have 3 active hitters who faced him because he went 5 innings against them back on April 19th in the A's stadium, by the way, where it's not easy to pitch, and he only gave up 1 hit against them, which was a solo home run. And whoever hit that isn't even on their active roster right now, it looks like, because he wasn't in that 0 for 6, obviously. 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. So I like the A's in the first 5 here. I think Ginn is the way more backable pitcher here right now, just given what their current form is. But Schultz was successful against the A's last time, but it's possible he's at a little bit of a disadvantage now because I talk about how when a young pitcher pitches, that first start, a lot of times they have an extra advantage because the hitters don't know what to expect. But now that these hitters do know what to expect because they saw him once, they might hit him better this time. However, that only applies to 3 guys in the A's lineup right now. So it doesn't apply to most of the A's lineup. So I'm not really going to put that much weight into, this is his second time facing them, so they should bomb him this time. However, all that being said, I do like the A's in the first 5 here. I still think backing Ginn makes the most sense here, and the money is agreeing with me on this. White Sox are at about minus 130 here, 60% of the tickets on them, 95% of the cash on the A's. I think the feeling is Schultz is just a wild card, man. Maybe he just probably doesn't deserve to be favored this heavily. You know what I mean? Even though he's at home, and I think he might be good eventually. But right now, I mean, I think Ginn, getting him as an underdog makes sense. First 5, you probably get him as a little bit less of an underdog, but the way I would do this is A's first 5. Probably it would be a money line play, but yeah, that's the way I would look in that game. Obviously, I want no part of the A's bullpen, and the money is coming in on the over in that game for whatever that's worth at 8.5. But I didn't really have my eye on the total in that one. I think A's first 5 is what makes the most sense. 5 more games to go. I got one more play here, and then I have a play in the WNBA as well, and there's no World Cup today. And I have another lean in the WNBA that didn't make my card that I like quite a bit, and it might be another one of those where I leave it on the table and it winds up being a winner. But I'll be happy as long as my one actual play in the WNBA also wins, where I think we're, 2 games above 500 again in the WNBA. We got to get back on track with that, which maybe we're starting to, but I'll be right back in a second. Yep, inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on, the slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. What the slump yesterday is. The slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. All right. Back to this. We got Atlanta and St. Louis. And believe it or not, St. Louis is on the verge of a sweep here of the Braves. Motivation should go to the Braves here because they're trying to avoid the sweep. They're the better team here. However, they don't have the greatest pitching matchup here to get this done. St. Louis is favored and probably should be, given what the starting pitching matchup is. St. Louis doesn't have a good bullpen, though. They use 3 guys out of the bullpen. The Braves have the better bullpen. They only use 1 guy, so this is a rested bullpen, and the Braves are still ranked number 1 in bullpen overall. although their ERA is slightly worse than the Yankees, but their overall numbers put them number one, or at least when I arrange it by whip, but I think there's a little bit more of a gap there. The bullpen for St. Louis, they're 20th. They're a very mediocre bullpen. Braves, they haven't been hitting as well recently, though. They've fallen down to 15th offensively. St. Louis hasn't really been that good either. They're at 20th, and this is a more pitcher-friendly ballpark here. But Atlanta's going with J.R. Richie. He looked good early in the season. He's still young, has some talent, but he hasn't really been that good overall. 4.6 ERA, 1.47 whip. That's not very good. He's not quite as good on the road. 4.94 road ERA. He's been making short appearances recently, so I don't even know, like, were those out of the bullpen? They might have been, because he's made 3 relief appearances here, so I would be aware of that. Like, the Braves might actually put an opener in front of him, or I don't really know what they're planning on doing here. So just be aware of that if you're going to play this game, you might want to not select a pitcher for the Braves, because Richie's probably going to be in the game, but it looks like it's going to be maybe even more of like a bullpen game for the Braves. But that might be a good thing for the Braves, because their bullpen's good. They're really rested here, and they don't have to worry, but they can unload. That's one thing, because we're going into the All-Star break here. The bullpens can be completely unloaded today for every team. So that's something to consider, that the bullpen pitching might be a little bit better today, because literally everybody's on the table pretty much, unless guys have pitched like multiple days in a row or whatever. The bullpens can get unloaded here, and teams don't have to worry about that because they don't have to play tomorrow or for a while, basically. Richie does have a low hit rate, so that's good. His walk rate is way too high, though. Does have a decent amount of strikeouts, so he does have the ability to fool major league hitters, which is important. But again, he's wild. I mean, I feel like I say that about a lot of pitchers, but that is the case with him. I just don't know what we're going to get out of him here. It's a real question mark. St. Louis has never faced him, so maybe he has a little bit of an advantage there because they're unfamiliar with him. Really, really difficult to figure this game out. Dustin May is the more predictable pitcher in some ways. He's pitching for the Cardinals. He's been decent. 4.55 ERA, but his whip is 1.25, so that whip indicates his ERA should actually be lower than what it is. And he's been pretty good at home, 3.59 home ERA. May pitching pretty well, pitched pretty well last time out against Milwaukee. Good bounce back because he was terrible in the previous 2 starts, both on the road, by the way. Came back home. One of those starts, though, it is noteworthy that one of those really bad starts was against the Braves, so keep that in mind. But he might pitch better. I mean, he's not going to give up 5 runs in 2/3 of an inning this time, I would not imagine. But I don't really know why they took him out in his last game, because he went 4 2/3 shutout ball against Milwaukee. Wasn't really putting anybody on base there, striking guys out. I don't really know why they shortened his outing there, but whatever. It was a nice bounce-back performance from him, though. His hit rate is okay on the season. It's lower than 1 per inning, at least. His walk rate's not bad. Strikeout rate is okay, too. So he's got decent numbers overall. Obviously, it is a concern that he was so bad against the Braves not long ago. The Braves might be able to hit him again. However, if you look at his numbers against them, he does fairly well against them usually. 54 at-bats, 204 average, 732 OPS, 20-8 strikeout walk ratio is not that good, but the rest of these numbers are not bad. So May actually pitch well here. I think St. Louis, they have a decent chance to pull off this sweep here, man. The money is backing Atlanta here. St. Louis is favored at about -130, but, I mean, to me, I've been saying it in this series, it looks too easy to play the Braves, doesn't it? Like, the Braves have the better record on the season. It's like you're getting the Braves as an underdog. It looks so easy to play them. Even though I know the public is recency biased and the Braves have lost both games in the series, and it looks like there's only a 50-50 with the ticket percentage here. 72% of the cash on the Braves, so the money is backing the Braves here, it looks like. But I don't know, man. To me, it looks too easy to play the Braves. I might have a slight lean St. Louis first 5. Of course, Atlanta obviously has the better bullpen, though. Maybe St. Louis first 5 makes some sense here. Avoid St. Louis's bullpen, though. And the money is back in the under. The total is more difficult for me to figure out. I just don't know what Atlanta's going to do as far as their pitching. Like, you might see a lot of bullpen usage for Atlanta in this game. Like I said, which might actually work well for them because their bullpen is good. Overall, the total's at 8. I don't really have much more on that game. It's a really difficult game to figure out. Braves took a Vermont pitcher. Vermont, a powerhouse pitching state, obviously. Do you know him? A high schooler from up in your area there? I don't know who he is, but yeah. I know the Red Sox drafted some North Carolina shortstop, Garrett. I don't know who he is either, but I paid very little. I paid very little attention to the draft, but my dad told me. I'm like, all right. My dad is he's more of a guy that just pays attention to the Red Sox and not baseball in general. I'm like, all right, I'll have to look up who this guy is. All right, Houston and Texas. Haven't been a fan of this series because we did lose with Houston in Game 1. Houston, of course, bounced back and won yesterday. So both teams are going to show up here. I mean, this is a close divisional battle, dude. Texas is only up 2 games on Houston here and 1.5 on Seattle. AL West is a close race here. All these teams are obviously right in the thick of it. And, yeah, I mean, the surprising thing is these games have gone over the total, and this is a Texas series. And, I talk about these games being typically low scoring, but I don't think this game's going to be particularly low scoring either. Texas used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Their bullpen is good. Houston used 2. Texas, I mean, they still got the better bullpen, even though they haven't been as good recently. They're still 10th. They're still not bad. Houston is 18th. I am putting them, as basically a mediocre bullpen, which is a lot better than what they looked like early in the season. Houston is 13th offensively. I think they're the better offense. Texas is ranked 17th, tied with Detroit. This does not look like a particularly good starting pitching matchup. Houston's going with Christian Javier, who has a 10.22 ERA and 2.27 whip. Awful numbers. However, he's not that bad. I mean, you could look at his numbers throughout his career. He's kind of a mediocre pitcher. Actually, his career numbers are actually better than mediocre, although last couple of seasons he really just hasn't pitched that much. So I don't know. I think injuries have kind of just derailed him. He's difficult to figure out. He's been really bad on the road, though. 11.12 road ERA, but I wouldn't put that much weight into it because he has a really small sample size here. But he hasn't been good. He has a really high hit rate, really high walk rate, low strikeout rate. None of these things look good. But I think Javier is going to be an opener here, man, because his last 3 outings, he's only gone 1 or 2 innings, and it looks like he was either injured or they sent him to the minors, and then since he's been back, he's only gone 2 innings and 1 inning in his last couple of appearances, so I think he might be an opener here. If you're going to play this game, I would not select a starter for the Astros because I don't even know if he's actually going to start for them, you know what I mean? It looks like they might just go with a bullpen game here, though. Like I said, a lot of teams might do something like that today. This might be one of those. So just keep that in mind. But if you're going to play the game, I think I would not select Houston's starter because it's just going to be, I think, a random mix of pitchers for them today. Mackenzie Gore looks like he will be pitching for the Rangers. 4.72 ERA, 1.31 whip. Not great there, but he is still better at home. 3.54 home ERA. Did not do us any favors last time out. We lost that under because of him against Anaheim. I don't know what that was, dude. He gave up 7 runs in 5 innings, but he still had 7 strikeouts and 1 walk, so his command numbers were still really good. And this is not what you usually see out of Gore. Like, Gore's problem is usually his walk rate. Like, he usually is pretty much unhittable, but he walks too many guys, and he gets a lot of strikeouts. I don't know what was going on with him where he was so hittable over the last couple of outings. No clue, dude. His overall numbers look more like you would expect from him. He has a pretty low hit rate. His walk rate is definitely too high. His strikeout rate is also high. I think that is generally what we're going to get out of him, but he does not have good numbers against Houston. And 37 at-bats, 324 average, 802 OPS, 10-1 strikeout walk ratio is good, but the rest of these numbers, not good. I think this game might actually be an over. Go figure. Texas, at home. But yeah, the total's high for a Texas game. It's basically hovering around 9. 61% of tickets, 78% of the cash on the over. If I was going to play this game, that's what I would do. I would play the over. I think Texas should have an advantage with Gore over whatever Houston is doing with their pitching, but Minus 134 on Texas, and the money is fading them. 61% of tickets, 56% of the cash on them. I mean, I don't really understand that. I mean, if you force me to give you a side on this game, I'd probably still have to lean Texas because I still think Gore plus the Texas bullpen is going to be better than whatever Houston's putting out there. But I still think the over is the best approach in that game. Caden McCarthy, all right, he sounds very Irish, sounds New England. Never played against you, but, he's younger than you. All right, yeah, makes sense. All right, yeah, that makes sense. Highest drafted player or pitcher? Player probably from, dude, Vermont, I mean, not a lot of Major League Baseball players from Vermont, okay? Vermont is the third least populated state, I believe, in the entire country. Only to Wyoming and Alaska, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously Vermont is a small state, but it's also very sparsely populated. Like, basically the only population center in Vermont is Burlington. And it's a, really gay college town. You've had two. He's only the second Vermont player ever. All right. Probably. That makes sense. Colorado and San Francisco. San Francisco won the game yesterday. San Francisco is leading this series 2-1. This is a 4-game series here. It's the only 4-game series here. I still think both teams at least will show up motivation-wise here. I mean, neither team is having a good season. Colorado only used one relief pitcher. They're not a good bullpen, though. San Francisco also used one. They haven't been pitching well either, but they're better than Colorado. San Francisco's 23rd, still not doing well. But Colorado 28th, they're not a good bullpen. Definitely a bottom several bullpen there. But both bullpens, you could definitely make the argument they're both bad. Colorado's 4th in offense. They've been doing well there. San Francisco's 12th. I still don't think San Francisco's that good offensively. And again, I think they're going to drop off again offensively at some point. It might not be here against Colorado's pitching, like I've been saying, but eventually. Colorado's going with Michael Lorenzen. He is not good, obviously. 6.46 ERA, 1.78 whip. None of that is good. He is a little bit less bad on the road, though. I mean, he's worse in Coors Field for obvious reasons. 5.36 road ERA is at least better, and this is at least a pitcher-friendly ballpark and an offense that I don't think is that good. Lorenzen, I mean, his walk rate has been really bad recently. Usually that's not his main problem, though. Usually he's too hittable, but he still pitched pretty well in his last game against L.A. On the road, he was able to kind of shut down the Dodgers, and Colorado won that game, which is pretty insane. I think Lorenzen actually has decent numbers in his career against the Dodgers. He's got a really high hit rate on the season. Like I said, that's his main issue, is he's very hittable. He's got a reasonable walk rate. It's not too bad. Strikeout rate is low, as you probably expected. He does not strike guys out. But against San Francisco, he also doesn't do well. In 40 at-bats, 375 average, 920 OPS, 7-2 strikeout walk ratio. Yeah, I mean, those are not good numbers overall at all. Trevor McDonald is pitching for San Francisco. He looked good last year and early this year, but he's definitely fallen off as well. He's not pitching well right now, although I think he's got some talent. I mean, out of these two pitchers, he's the one that has the upside, obviously, because he's a young pitcher that might actually become something. He's got a 5.46 ERA here, though, 1.38 whip. That's not good. And he's been inexplicably really bad at home, 7.94 home ERA. I don't know what the deal is with that. I have no idea why he's so bad at home. We're a more pitcher-friendly park. He got obliterated here in his last start against Toronto. That is not a good sign. I mean, Toronto's not a good offense. Prior to that, he had a good start on the road against Arizona, but of course it was on the road. Again, he's just not been good at home. He's got a kind of high hit rate now. His walk rate's not really that good. His strikeout rate is mediocre. He induces a lot of ground balls, so that's something. But overall, not great, and the Rockies only have 4 hitters who have faced him. They've had some success, though. 250 average. They do have a home run from Tovar in there. 4 strikeouts, no walks, 750 OPS. I don't really see McDonald pitching that well here either. I think you have 2 pretty questionable pitchers here, 2 pretty questionable bullpens. I think this game is an over. That's the way I would go in this game. The total is, it's slightly high, I guess, at 9. I thought it was at 8.5. It's at 9, which makes more sense. It's right on that key number. Money is definitely backing the over. 52% of tickets on the under, 75% of the cash on the over. That is how I would play this. I don't really have a good read on the side. It looks like the money is fading San Francisco, though. They're at minus 144 or so now, 78% of tickets, 76% of the cash on them. I don't know about that, man. I think McDonald could outpitch Lorenzen here. I don't know. I would not be playing Colorado here. There's not a whole lot to like there, but I think the over is like the pretty obvious way to play that game. Maybe it's too obvious, though. I don't know. But if you forced me to play that game, over would definitely be what I would do in that one. Arizona and the Dodgers. Dodgers are trying to avoid a sweep, believe it or not. They were like a minus 300 favorite almost in both of these games, and they've been awful. They've been outscored 18-5 in the series. It's unbelievable. But I think they really just have been slacking off because they have such a big lead in the NL West right now. I think they're just kind of like whatever, and they're going into the All-Star break, but they probably are going to show up here. I mean, you don't want to get swept like this at home going into the All-Star break as the better team. Arizona, I mean, they're going to show up, but Dodgers are the better team here. Dodgers don't really have an elite pitcher on the mound here, though. I believe they had Yamamoto on the mound yesterday, and they still did poorly, so I don't know what the deal is there. I think they just left him in, it looks like, too, because the Dodgers used no relief pitchers yesterday. So it looks like they just left him in. The Dodgers should have a bit of a bullpen advantage here for that reason, and because I think they have the slightly better bullpen. Arizona used 4 relief pitchers. Arizona's ranked 5th in bullpen. Dodgers are 6th, but the Dodgers have a better bullpen ERA. I think they're a little bit better than Arizona's, and they're more rested here. Dodgers obviously have the way better offense, which has not shown up in this series, but they're number 1 still. And the Diamondbacks are number 25. So Dodgers, you got to expect that at least they're going to probably get some runs here. But it's a bit unpredictable because they got to go up against Mitch Bratt, who is a really young left-handed pitcher. I think he's got some talent, man. I mean, I looked at his scouting. I mean, I don't think he's a guy that throws particularly hard. I mean, he's got kind of a smaller frame. He's not really that tall compared to some other pitchers here, but I think he's got a decent pitch mix. We don't really know much about him yet. He's only made 1 appearance so far. It was on the road at St. Louis, and obviously on the road at the Dodgers is a completely different scenario because St. Louis doesn't really hit that well, especially at home, and that's a pitcher-friendly ballpark. The Dodgers are a much more potent offense. But Bratt, I mean, he pitched pretty well in that game. He went 3 innings. I don't really know what you're going to get out of him here. It seems like they do have him on a pitch count, so he's probably only going to go a few innings here, and then the Diamondbacks are probably going to go to their bullpen here. Maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know. Dodgers, of course, haven't seen him before, so maybe Bratt will be successful when he's out there, but I don't really want to bank on that. The Dodgers are at least going with a more proven starter in Emmett Sheehan. His 4.91 ERA is not really that good, though. Obviously, it's not. But his whip indicates that his ERA should be a bit lower than that. 1.27 whip is not too bad. He's a little bit better at home, a 4.79 home ERA. I mean, he's not that bad of a pitcher. Like, I've been watching him for a while, and he's got talent. I mean, obviously he has a high strikeout rate, so that's a good thing. He can strike guys out at the highest level of baseball. His hit rate is decent. His walk rate's a little bit too high. But overall, I mean, if you look at just these overall numbers here, he's not that bad. I think he's gotten a little bit unlucky with the home run rate here, although he is more of a fly ball pitcher. Arizona has had some success against him, mostly with the home runs, so very Sheehan-like here. He's held them to a 205 average, but a 795 OPS is pretty high because they have 4 home runs off him, but 14 strikeouts, no walks. I think most of these numbers make it look better for Sheehan than for the Dodgers. I know the OPS is a decent indicator, but no walks there with a lot of strikeouts. The home runs just seem more fluky to me. So I think Sheehan might actually pitch okay here. I wouldn't recommend playing the Dodgers, though. I mean, they obviously you're paying a lot for the Dodgers. They're minus 225 here. That's a pretty expensive price. They're public, 87% of tickets, 92% of the cash on them. So, you know, it looks like basically they're public. Maybe the money's coming in that way. I mean, there's a situational angle for it because the Dodgers are one of those home teams trying to avoid a sweep. I just think this game's really unpredictable, man. And the money seems to be backing the under 9.5 here, which I just don't know, man. I don't have a good grasp on this game at all. I mean, if you want to just go with the Dodgers to like break out the bats here, maybe you could go Dodgers over their team total here. Maybe they'll finally get something going offensively. Bratt is unfamiliar to them, but he might not be in the game for that long. Dodgers might be able to do something against this Arizona pitching staff and turn something around here, but that's not a game that I like at all. I will go out a play on this last game here, though. And I know we're going with one of these dicey first 5 run line situations here where we need Toronto to be winning at the end of 5 innings. I think they could do it. We're going to lay the half run to get the price down to even money. Because if you're going to play the money line on them in the first 5, it's like above minus 150. So I don't want to do that. But that's obviously because the odds makers know Toronto's got a big edge in the starting pitching here. And they don't have as much of an edge in the bullpen. So I'm going to cut the bullpens out. This is against San Diego. San Diego does have a good bullpen. Although they used 4 guys out of the bullpen yesterday, including Mason Miller. But they might use him again today because he hadn't pitched for 3 days, and he's not going to pitch in the upcoming days, although he might pitch in the All-Star game or something. But other than that, they don't really have to worry about his usage. Toronto, I don't like how their bullpen sets up here. They used 4 guys yesterday. I'm going to skip their bullpen. They're not great. They've been okay, but they're not great. They're number 11. San Diego's number 12, but I think San Diego does have the better bullpen, so I'm going to cut them out of the equation. In fact, they should be ranked better than Toronto here because they have the same whip and a better ERA. So they should rank higher. It's just that this website doesn't have a secondary sorting category, so that's some bullshit. They should hire me. I'll code it for them. I've done a lot of data sorting mechanisms in the past. Hitting-wise, San Diego's dead last. 30th, not good. They're not in a hitter-friendly park, obviously, by any means. Toronto doesn't hit well either. They're 26th, although they've been a little bit better than San Diego. But we're going to back Kevin Gausman here, man. I know Gausman has let me down a little bit. He's got a 4.32 ERA, which isn't really that good, but he's still a solid pitcher, dude. His whip is not bad at 1.22, so his ERA probably should be a bit lower than that. I know he hasn't been as good on the road, 5.57 road ERA, but he's pitched less on the road this year, and he got kind of hammered last time, but that was against the San Francisco team, and I think had good numbers against him. I'm pretty sure I pointed that out. So for whatever reason, he has a bad matchup against San Francisco. I know 3 of his last 4 starts have been bad, but he's going to bounce back at some point, man. He's a good enough pitcher that should happen. You look at his overall numbers, I mean, these are pretty good numbers. His hit rate's not really that high. Doesn't really walk guys, so that's good. Strikeout rate is high enough. And he's a fly ball pitcher, so he gives up too many home runs, but that should be mitigated pitching in San Diego. I mean, it's a very cavernous stadium where it's hard to hit home runs. Against the Padres, he's been decent in 170 at bats. We have a big sample size here. 253 average allowed, 694 OPS. I mean, really, you're just looking at like the 2 guys that you expect here. Machado and Bogarts are kind of the guys that do the most damage here. So if he can avoid, and Tatis, I guess. So they're better hitters. I mean, it's just expected. They're better hitters, hit better against him. But still, his numbers are good overall against them. 41 strikeouts, 7 walks. That's a good ratio. And I think he should be able to outpitch German Márquez, who has basically spent his career with Colorado, which I know is going to make his numbers look worse, but pitching for San Diego hasn't really helped his numbers that much. He's got a 5.02 ERA, 1.43 whip. That's not good. He's been inexplicably bad at home, 7.5 home ERA, so that's really bad. So he's not pitching well in this stadium for whatever reason. I know it's a small sample size, but his worst starts seem like they've all come at home pretty much. Colorado, Arizona, White Sox. His overall numbers, there's not a lot to like here. His hit rate is okay, but his walk rate's way too high. Strikeout rate is not very good. Again, not a lot to like. And numbers against Toronto, not good. They only have 6 hitters who have faced him, but they have a 333 average and 872 OPS against him. 8-4 strikeout walk ratio. One thing to be aware of is that he might not start, although I think he's going to, because he started in all but one of his appearances this year. So, just thinking about, like, should you pick both starters must start here? I would say yes, because I think Márquez is going to start, but I guess, I don't know. I mean, if you're really worried about that, I mean, I don't think San Diego's going to have anybody good pitching here. Like, I think, if anything, it's going to be Márquez starting most likely, but if he doesn't, I think they're going to put an opener in front of him and then just use him after that. But I think he's just going to start. So I think that's the way this is going to go. The money is agreeing with me. Last I saw, 63% of tickets, 95% of the cash on Toronto. You're laying minus 130 on the money line, which I know is a bit to lay with Toronto, but I think this is a pretty big starting pitching mismatch, and that's where I'm focusing here. Although, again, you have to pay more for it, so we have to go with the run line to knock the price down. So both of my plays are at even money here, but hopefully we can get this done here. So that's going to be the last baseball play and the last game on the board. No World Cup today, but we do have some WNBA to talk about here. 4 WNBA games. I have one play here, and it's in the first game, so we get an afternoon game. It's on NBA TV, because I know everybody wants to watch this. The New York-Toronto game here. I know this line did open at 7.5, and I talk about how 7 is a key number, so you'd rather be on the better side of it. You're not going to see that number again. It was gone very quickly, but I'm still going to give out Toronto plus 6.5 here. I think this is a good spot to play Toronto and to fade New York. New York is just, they're playing a lot of big games recently, man. And I know they're not as bad as their record looks. I will give you that. But look at what they've done recently, man. I mean, they won the Commissioner's Cup, big win over Vegas. Then they beat Minnesota after that. Then they lost to Dallas, and I gave out that as a play on the show with Dallas. That was a win for us on the show. Then it was because they were in a Minnesota sandwich, and then what did they do? They played literally yesterday against Minnesota. Now they have to turn around and play an afternoon game after playing against Minnesota yesterday. That was a close game. They lost by 5. Big game against Minnesota on the road. Like, how are they going to turn around and play on a back-to-back here, man? And by the way, their next game will be on Thursday on Prime, Amazon Prime, and that's going to be against Dallas, the team that just beat them in New York. They're going to have the opportunity to go into Dallas and try to beat them. And they play Indiana and Caitlin Clark after that. So to me, this looks like a spot where they're going to overlook their opponent, dude. This is a sandwich spot here. I just don't think it's a good spot. They did already beat Toronto the one time they played them earlier this year. They beat them by 15 in New York, so I don't really see them paying that much attention to Toronto here. They're going to have to do a bit of a thing that they're not familiar with and go to Toronto here. Go play in a venue they've never played in before or whatever. Go through customs. That could maybe affect them as well here. I only have one little concern with Toronto here, and that's that the way that Toronto lost their last game against Dallas isn't great. Like, Toronto was in that game for most of that game. I think they were winning the game at halftime, and then they still were right in that game early in the fourth quarter, and then they fell apart, and they wound up losing by 13. But I'm a little bit less worried because they didn't take Dallas to the wire or anything like that. Like, they were down 7, with like 4 minutes left or whatever, so they were kind of out of the game at that point. So they didn't take that game right to the wire, so I'm less worried about that. Obviously, they have rest because they didn't play yesterday. New York did, so New York is at a big rest disadvantage here because of that. And Toronto is staying at home, so they're at a travel advantage here. I think they're going to show up because they're 1-4 on this homestand here. They do have a long homestand. It's going to continue for 3 more games, but I think they're going to want to get this game at home. They're playing against what is probably the best team in the East still, New York. This is going to be a big game for them, man. So we're going to take the points with Toronto here. I think they could definitely do this at home. New York is public, 67% of tickets on them, only 63% of the cash. So the money is agreeing with me on this. 6.5 is the number on New York here. Like I said, I don't think you're going to be able to find a better price than this, but I don't know. Maybe there's a 7 out there. Let me see. Obviously, you could wait around and see if a 7 shows up because I don't think it really matters. 6.5, it's not going to matter that much if it drops to 6. I don't see any 7s right now, though, so do with that info what you want, but I found it at 6.5. again, yeah, you could wait and try to get the 7, but I'm willing to play that game at 6.5. I like it. I think it's a good spot to play Toronto. And looking at the market read, I might be about to add another play in the WNBA because I do like both of these games. It's not the next game, though. Seattle and Washington, the other afternoon game. The game that doesn't get a TV billing and is an ugly game. Seattle's bad. Washington's kind of mediocre. Washington, they're staying at home, and they did just get embarrassed at home against Golden State. They only put up 49 points, and they've had almost a week off to get over that. So I think Washington's in a decent bounce-back spot here, staying at home off a very embarrassing loss. And you can kind of explain what happened there because they had a big win over Atlanta the game before that, so I think they just couldn't keep it up. And this is a 3-game homestand, so they're going to want to win the homestand. So I expect motivation from Washington here. So a motivated, better team might be the way you want to look here. Seattle, they're not a very good team. They're coming in from Atlanta. They have less rest because they did play on Thursday. They'll probably show up and try to win this game too, but I think Washington's in the better spot. They're in a bounce-back spot, staying at home, more rest. The money's back in Washington as well. I lean that way. I would lay it with Washington if I was going to play this one. I don't feel that strongly about it, but 67% of tickets, 83% of the cash on Washington, and -5.5. That's the way I would lean there. The public is probably going to have a tendency to not want to lay points with a 10-10 team. Like, they don't like laying what they perceive to be kind of a big number with a team that's not even above 500, Next game up, you know what? I think I'm going to add a play. This is the game. I told you I was looking at another game here, and I was like, you know what? Like, this game just, I like it well enough here. The money just wasn't agreeing with me earlier in the morning, but it looks like it is now. Let me take a look at this. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this. Let me see what the best number we can get on this is. It looks like it's 9.5. So as you can tell, I'm talking about playing an underdog here. Even though this is a team that's sort of let me down twice recently, I think, but they should have covered both games. And that's the Chicago Sky. Let me just add this banner here real quick. I just had that other banner up for too long. I apologize. But yeah, let's do it. Let's play Chicago plus 9.5. We'll play 2. We'll have a WNBA Sunday, man. Sunday is one of the days that has more WNBA because they're heathens. They play on the Lord's Day. We're going to take Chicago. I know Chicago's let me down twice recently, but really they should have covered, I think, both of those games where we played them as an underdog. They played pretty well as an underdog in both of those games. I think they could do it again here against Dallas. Dallas is also not a very good defense. I know this is a home game on ESPN, so that's somewhat of a big deal. Like, a lot of times home teams will show up for something like that. But look at what Dallas has done recently, dude. Dallas, I know they're coming off a Toronto game, which isn't really that big of a deal, and they did get a little bit of a scare against Toronto, but the game before that, they beat New York on the road, which is a huge win. But really my main concern here is they're returning home from a road trip, and they've been on the road since July 2nd. So I talk about this. They went all the way to the East Coast. Now they're traveling back home from a long road trip. I talk about it. That usually becomes a distracted spot. Like, you haven't been at home for more than a week. You got to get back to home life. It's a bad spot, man. And it's possible they overlook Chicago because look who they have on deck. They got an Amazon Prime game against the Liberty, like I just alluded to. That's going to be a big game, man, a bigger game than this. So I think they might overlook Chicago. Chicago, I don't think it's really as bad as their record looks. They did already go in and beat Chicago in Chicago by 10 back on May 20th. So they may overlook Chicago for that reason, too. And actually, they beat them here at home, only by 1, though, back on June 20th. So Chicago did play well here in this arena back on June 20th. But Chicago still may overlook them because they Dallas may still overlook them because they've beaten them twice. As far as Chicago is concerned, they're coming off a pretty ugly loss at L.A. They're finishing a road trip here, but I think they're going to want to try to win this because they're 1-2 on the road trip. They've played somewhat decently on the road trip. They played that game where they should have covered. They took it to OT against Vegas, but basically I wound up scoring that as a no play on the show because the line was so much lower because of the Asia Wilson injury situation there. Chicago beat Phoenix during the road trip, decent win, and then they lost to L.A. That's kind of an ugly loss, dude, and they gave up over 100 points there. I think Chicago is a little bit better defensively than what that game would show. Chicago, I mean, they've had some players that have been injured recently, but they're getting a little bit healthier here. Skylar Diggins is still out, though, so that is one thing that she's not coming back for this one. But you're getting a lot of points here, man. And I know Chicago's not really that good on the road. Dallas, obviously, is the better team. They're at home, but that's why you're getting 9.5 points here, man. And the money looks like it is starting to agree with me now. 60% of tickets, 65% of the cash at Chicago. Let's do it, man. I think I like the other play more, but we'll do both. And, you know, if we go 1-1, we'll still be up on the WNBA season slightly. I think I haven't been totally keeping track. And what am I? I think am I 9-7 in the WNBA now? I forget. But hopefully we can continue. We had a decent WNBA season last year anyway, so we're going to continue with it. And then there's an NBC Peacock game that is an Indiana-Las Vegas rematch. This will be in Vegas, and it's more than a rematch because what happened in the last game, Vegas did just play Indiana at home 3 games ago, but that game was in T-Mobile Arena, which is not Vegas's main home stadium. And I believe they're going to be back in their home arena for this game. Yeah, the Michelob Ultra Arena. So Vegas is back in their actual home stadium this time. And as you'll notice, Indiana embarrassed them in that game. Vegas lost that last game in T-Mobile in Vegas, in their, home away from home, if you want to call it that, their secondary home arena. They lost 84-68. That was a miserable performance from Vegas, but I don't know what to take away from that because if you remember, Caitlin Clark was out for Indiana in that game, but Asia Wilson was out for the Aces in that game. So the star player for both teams didn't play in that game. So I don't think there's a whole lot to take away from that result. However, I don't really want to come play Vegas here, even though this probably should be a revenge spot for Vegas here. They know that they lost that game badly to Indiana. They're going to want to probably show up and beat them this time. The problem with that is Vegas played yesterday. Vegas, they're staying at home at least, but Vegas is on a back-to-back. That's not going to be easy. And they won yesterday's game by 48 points against Phoenix. Absolutely ridiculous. 106-58. One of the biggest blowouts you're ever going to see in the WNBA. So I don't love playing on a team that's coming off a massive blowout like that. And now they're on a back-to-back. I don't love that, even though they should have a bit of a revenge motive here against Indiana. Indiana's coming off a win over Phoenix, though. That was a big win for Indiana because, they had that issue with Phoenix. They played 2 games at home against Phoenix in late June, and that was when that whole fiasco happened where whatever her name is, Carter on Phoenix, pushed Caitlin Clark's neck, and there was the huge thing. Caitlin Clark got injured. These two teams, Phoenix and Indiana, do not like each other, and Indiana was able to get that win in Phoenix back on Thursday. That was a very satisfying win for them. Now, obviously, they're rested because they have 2 days of rest. Vegas doesn't have any. Traveling from Phoenix to Vegas is a very short trip, so that's not going to be a huge deal, really, for Indiana. They're going to show up for this. Vegas does have the revenge motive here, but I think there are more negatives against Vegas here than there are against Indiana, so I have a slight lean towards Indiana here. I don't agree with the market in this one. I agree with the market in the other 3 games. The market is leaning towards Vegas here. 55% of tickets, 69% of the cash on them, -4.5. But I would lean more towards taking the points with Indiana there. And Vegas, by the way, they have not played well at home. So that's another thing. They're 7-4 at home now, which I guess isn't too bad, but they're not that dominant of a home team. And Indiana's at least decent on the road. So there is that too. Do what you want with all that info, man, but that's the WNBA breakdown, and that's it because there's no World Cup until Tuesday when the semifinals start. I got all 4 finalists right, man, so my bracket got all the final 4 right, and you know that I went against the grain with the final 2. I have England over Spain in my championship, but it's not out of the question. France is obviously the favorite over Spain, but they're not like a massive favorite. So Spain is not dead in the water, and England is actually favored over Argentina, believe it or not, very slightly. But that leads me to believe that I made the right pick in my bracket, at least, because everybody is picking Argentina. They're like basically everybody was picking Brazil to get out of England's like quadrant there. So I'm already ahead of the pack there. But having a team that nobody's picking and they're actually favored slightly in England, I like the way that part of the bracket sets up. Hopefully we can get it done. I don't know if I'm going to actually make it a play on the show or anything, but hopefully they can at least get, I don't think I will, but hopefully we can at least get it done there for the bracket purposes. Although I don't really like England, but I don't like Argentina either. So, whatever. Anyway, that's going to do it. I don't think I had any. Oh, I was going to mention real quick, the Vegas Aces, I mean, they've had some weird stuff going on with, they had Kennedy Carter was like their sixth woman, if you will. Like she was their first player off the bench, and she was scoring a lot, like early in the season. She's off the team now. They kicked her off the team due to conduct detrimental to the team. Like she's like a clubhouse cancer, and she can't, like, this has been a problem with her throughout her career. Well, you never know, but yeah, I think she's a woman. She's had that issue throughout her career, man. Like she is not able to stick with any team because she's a major locker room cancer. So Vegas kicked her off the team, and no team has shown interest in picking her up, even though she could score. So I don't know, something to keep in mind with Vegas, but maybe it's addition by subtraction, the fact that they got rid of her. I mean, Vegas is still a really strong team, so. But yeah, just something to keep in mind there. That's going to do it, man. The plays today, one more time. We got 4 plays here today. We got the maybe too obvious under in Philadelphia and Detroit, under 7 in baseball. Hopefully we can get that one done. It's a very ace pitching matchup, man. We got the Toronto Blue Jays in the first 5 on the -half run line, so they need to be winning at that point. Come on, Gausman. Don't let me down this time. And then we're on 2 WNBA games, both underdogs. Toronto plus the points. You can wait, like I said, and see if a 7 crops up. It might happen. And then, because the public's going to be on New York, so maybe it'll happen. And then, I'll do it too, and I'll score it with what I find, basically, for the show purposes. And then Chicago plus 9.5 is the other play. That's going to do it. Learn to Tone on Twitter. Learn to Tone on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here. We hit 500. I don't know if we're able to stay at 500, but tell your friends they can subscribe to me and not even watch the show. I mean, at least it'll up my subscribers, although if you watch the show, I think you'll get some good information, and hopefully it's entertaining enough content, although really it's only going to appeal to people that really like these deep dives into all this stuff. We're on audio, Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. Check it out there. Covered in Uke on YouTube. Really, really praying I can get my voice back at some point. It's not been going well, dude. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. You can get some bonus Uke stuff there. Should probably start doing some more bonus stuff. Loser Cast every Tuesday night, and the Giants G-Spot podcast, New York Giants. That's going to do it. I appreciate it, everybody. Peace. Let's get some wins today.
But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now.